We're now moving on to questions 48 to 50 in biology. Okay, so we're looking at questions 48 to 50. For the real exam, if you are pressed for time, there's no doubt. You go straight to the questions and let the questions guide you. Then when you look at the passage, your eyes should focus on things that are bold or in caps. Because when ACER puts something in bold or in caps, it's usually quite important. And it usually must be required for one of the answers. But when you run out of time, it's more efficient to go to the questions first. And some students do plan this ahead and will always do the questions first. But you have to practice that way in order to be comfortable with that technique. Okay. So by looking at the table, ornithine transcarbamylase would be affected by which of the enzymes? Yes, exactly. So it's ARG12. Look, it does underline something for you. There are not a lot of giveaways on the GAMSAT, but sometimes ACER will give you an easy question. But if your second or third question in a passage is easy, then you're probably getting it wrong. Because if ACER gives you an easy question, it's usually the first question, and it's to get you warmed up. And then once your eyes are trained and you understand, you have a basic idea of what's going on, now they're ready to hit you. So be ready for things that are going to be a little tricky. So if you think the answer is easy after this, then you're probably making a mistake. So now, question 49. Yes, so this takes a little bit of training of your eyes. So the answer is A, and I'm going to go through it, okay? I'm going to go through it starting with D, and then I'm going to work my way backwards. So basically, for D, if you look at where the ARG12 is, imagine that the ARG12 mutation over there, just imagine that as being a blockage. So ARG12 is the blockage, and that means that because there's a block there, if you were given a supplemental citrulline, which is after the blockage, then citrulline will go on to make arginine, therefore you will have growth because it's after the block. However, if you're given ornithine, you see that ornithine's on the left side of the blockage. Ornithine will not permit you to create citrulline and then carry on because of the blockage is being at ARG12. So, so D is accurate to say that you'd get no growth with ornithine, but you would get growth with citrulline, which is after the blockage. Perfect. Then looking at ARG10, ARG10 is way at the end. So you could imagine that if you give, because the blockage is right at the last step, if you give anything before that, whether it be citrulline, ornithine, or any of the other substituents or groups before that, you would get blockage at ARG10 and you will not get growth in the end. So answer choice C is accurate to say that there would be no growth with ornithine and none with citrulline either. Now looking at ARG6, ARG6 we see that lower down in the graph, and we can imagine that if you give ornithine or citrulline, which are after the blockage, then you would get growth, no problem. Now looking at ARG12, there's just a little tricky part there. When you, ARG2. When you look at ARG2, you see that if you have a blockage of ARG2, you get no carbamophosphate. So if you add citrulline, no problem. Citrulline is after the blockage, so then you would get growth, no problem. However, if you add ornithine, look carefully at the way that arrow goes. Ornithine combines with carbamophosphate in order to create citrulline. So even if you have all the ornithine in the world, if you have a blockage at ARG2 and you're not making carbamophosphate, then you cannot create citrulline and then you cannot continue along to arginine. So therefore, answer A is incorrect, making it the correct answer. So 49 is A. Please take a look at answer 50 for a minute. Or question 50, please. Look at that for a minute. So for question 50, the answer is D. And so we're going to look at this. So they're saying that if it is supplemented with citrulline alone, it works, but not if it's supplemented with carbamyl phosphate alone. Well, first we look at answer A, which says ARG1. Well, if you have an ARG1 mutation, you see it's over there on the right-hand side. It means that if you're given citrulline, there's a blockage at ARG1, so you will not get growth, nor with carbamyl phosphate. So A is a wrong answer. Then we look at ARG12. If you get citrulline with ARG12, you will get growth, perfect, because it's after the blockage. But if you get carbamyl phosphate, no, you won't get growth because it's before the blockage. So question B, answer choice B has something correct, which is ARG12. So now we just need to assess D. Because we know ARG12 is correct, we just need to know whether or not ARG6 is also correct. Now we look at ARG6, it's way down in the figure 1. So if we are given citrulline, that's way past the blockage, no problem. Citrulline would lead to growth, no problem. But if we're given carbamyl phosphate, again, because of the way the lines are drawn, you see that carbamyl phosphate requires ornithine in order to create citrulline. So if there's a blockage at ARG6, it means you will not get ornithine, and therefore you cannot get citrulline, and therefore no growth. So an ARG6 blockage also means that citrulline provides growth, but carbamyl phosphate does not, and therefore answer choice D is the correct answer.